All right. Mississippi State and Arkansas. Not a good start to the game. And what it was, three and out interception to start the game. So you dig yourself a hole right out of the gate. What's up with that?
Well, I mean, that's this team. The team has done that all year. Down to Memphis, down to LSU. They were trailing at Texas A&M. They got on the board. Oh, I'm sorry, they led the game 3-0, but then it was 7-3. They get off to slow starts. I don't know what it is about that. State would play games in the first quarter like they would do the fourth quarter. They'd probably be undefeated, or maybe not. They wouldn't beat Alabama, but I mean, they get out of the block slow for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it happened.
It's kind of the story of the game too, right? Is when you've got teams that, I mean, this middle of the SEC seems largely pretty evenly matched. I mean, the whole concept of when State plays well, they win. When they don't play well, they lose. It kind of applies to, I mean, everybody not named Georgia or Missouri or Vanderbilt. I mean, even South Carolina might be up in the new category now, although their roster is still depleted. But the difference in this game, I think, is pretty simple, right? Will Rogers threw an interception. KJ Jefferson did not. Mississippi State tried to run the football a little bit more and with some success, but they still averaged 2.7 per carry. Mississippi State missed 3 field goals. Arkansas did not. Arkansas was perfect in the red zone. Mississippi State was not. They did not score points on one of their red zone opportunities, and Mississippi State had 10 penalties. I mean, when you've got teams that are evenly matched like this for the most part, and State outgains Arkansas, not by much, but still outgained them, the difference is you had 3 missed field goals. You had a turnover. You weren't perfect in the red zone. You had 10 penalties. It's the margin for error is so slim when you're in these group of teams that when you execute and play well and don't make mistakes, you beat Kentucky, although they did give up a punt return for a touchdown. When you don't execute, when you do make a mistake, when you have bad penalties, when you miss field goals, you lose by 3 in Fayetteville. It's really that simple.
Somebody is making fun of Starkville. Says they have electricity in Starkville. Yeah, that's how we keep the lights on in the room that has the national championship baseball trophy in it.
Kind of set him up for that one.
Yeah, it's your own fault. You have no one to blame but yourself. I might have forgotten were it not for you.
Yeah, good to know. This is a random observation from the weekend. You guys watched the Mississippi State-Arkansas game. I thought this is going to sound like a ridiculous, inside TV comment. I thought the audio mix on the game, being able to hear the crowd and the announcers and whatnot, was the best on any game that I've watched this season. It sounded great. You could tell the crowd was into it, and they were pretty jacked up. I don't know. I think the attendance was 68,000. I mean, it wasn't quite full, but a great crowd. And it sounded fantastic. But here's the contrast to that. So ESPN's marquee broadcast, the one where they have the most resources, is the Saturday night game with Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. If you didn't know they were in the stadium, given what we've seen in recent years, you almost would have thought that Fowler and Herbstreit were not at the stadium broadcasting the game. I thought the audio mix was terrible. You couldn't hear there were 100,000 people or 95,000 people or whatever the number was in Tuscaloosa on Saturday night. And that game got tight late, and it was loud in there. I mean, it's rare that Alabama fans get to watch a close game, and so when they are in a close game, that place gets raucous. It sounded like a country church in there. I don't know how that happens. Am I crazy, or did you guys pick up on that at all?
You're not crazy, and that's not the only game it applies to. I feel like they've made an effort to not eliminate crowd noise, but really bring it low. And I mean, I used to love ABC's broadcast because it felt like the announcers were yelling over the crowd. You almost felt like you were there, When in doubt, bring the natural sound mic up higher.
Completely agree. complete, because to me that's the single most. And Joe Tessitore, I heard Brock Heward talk about this. He was with Joe Tess for a long time, and Brock said in one of the first production meetings they had, he said Joe Tessitore said there are 4 voices in this broadcast. There's my voice. I'm going to do the play-by-play. Brock, there's your voice. You're the analyst. You're supposed to add color to the conversation. We've got our field analyst, and the 4th voice is the voice of the crowd, and that may be the most important voice on the broadcast. I'd never heard it explained that way before. I thought that was really, really good. And I didn't get that on Saturday night. I felt like we got that big in terms of the Arkansas-Mississippi State broadcast Saturday afternoon. But that's a little bit of a side deal. Somebody said they're trying to eliminate "Let's Go Brandon" chants. I don't hear those in stadiums. Maybe they're happening.
There was one in the Arkansas game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what, man? Just let it go. I mean, come on. It's not like it's foul language. Maybe they are disguising foul language because of a auto racing sideline reporter really screwed up identifying what the crowd was chanting, but it's not a bad word. Kids don't know that it's bad. It's an innocent phrase. If that's why you keep the mics down, you're making a mistake, but I don't think that's why they're keeping the mics down.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, Dad, we talked earlier about the penalties in the ball game, and it really – I mean, look, I think you can look at pretty much every game that was played. There was a story today on ESPN about the Big Ten acknowledging to Jim Harbaugh that they missed calls in the Michigan State game, including a fumble recovered in the end zone that would have resulted in a touchdown for Michigan where they blew the play dead and said there was no fumble, and they gave the ball back to Michigan State, possibly altering the outcome of that game, and other penalties that he wasn't pleased with. Obviously, you had questionable calls in the Mississippi State-Arkansas game. The no-false start on the first down where Arkansas scored their touchdown at the end, would that one have made a difference? Who knows? You didn't get a personal foul call or an ejection of Traylon Burks where he, shoves, throws a punch, whatever, on the sideline in the scrum there. You did get a holding/pass interference call that gave Arkansas 1st and goal after not converting on 4th down on an incomplete pass. Questionable calls. Somebody pointed out, I saw a Mississippi State fan point out, they were kind of being the opposite side of complaining, said, look, Charles Cross had one of the worst holdings you'll ever see in football that went uncalled in the game. They miss. I don't think it's agenda driven. They just miss stuff all the time.
I say it every time. They're not biased.